is Stratford International Station. In the last decade or so, hundreds of millions of pounds have been spent on upgrading it. But one thing they didn't get round to building was a light switch. You see, the problem is this: they used to turn the lights off by using a circuit breaker, but in this day and age it doesn't pass health and safety, and so the lights shine all the time. But in fact, Stratford Station isn't alone. We found out that half of London's tube stations don't have a light switch at all. In all, that's 136 tube stations where, come day or night, the lights stay on. Transport for London say they don't know how much it costs the taxpayer. However, could it be that all over London our money is being wasted on unnecessary lighting? It was certainly the worry for Westminster Council, who are in the process of replacing all the streetlights in the borough with a computerised system which lets the council dim the lights as and when they think it's appropriate.
That word of dimming the lights is something that will frighten people. The fact that you think illumination's down, it's going to be dark, it's going to be dingy. But we have, you've seen on street, maybe if you've seen it tonight and seen it on street, we've dimmed the lights, and some of it is quite, just don't notice it at all.
It might not look like much is happening here, but what you're actually seeing is the streetlights being turned down by 25%. Now, the lights on this street are actually so high-tech you can control them remotely. You can stand just on the street with an iPad or even a phone and turn the streetlights up, down or even off. But at the moment, Westminster are pretty unusual. Sunday Politics spoke to every local authority in London, and only 7 of 33 have dimmed the lights at all in the last year. And in fact, spending on street lighting has gone up, with 4,000 new units put up over the capital in the last 12 months. But shouldn't we be welcoming a move by councils to keep us safe? Surely it's common sense that better streetlights mean less crime. Well, not necessarily, according to one ex-gang member.
In a time when I was of that frame of mind, we used to do things in daylight. Street lighting meant nothing. I guess it's just good for the people that will come out of their house and they're scared, to reassure them. It's good for them to have street lighting so they can feel safe when they're walking, because they're that type of person. But it's not going to matter to somebody who wants to do something to them.
But some fear that saving money on streetlights may be a false economy.
When you consider it costs £1.6 million to clear up every time there's a fatal road accident, you can see the consequences of not getting this right to the public purse, let alone the fear of crime it's going to create amongst all those people who may then decide not to go out at night at all.
But while there may be disagreement about just how bright London needs to be at night, come the morning, the arguments for keeping the lights on may be harder to make.
Ryan reporting there. I'm joined here now by London Assembly member Darren Johnson from the Greens, and from Ealing Council, Cabinet member responsible for the Environment and Transport, Councillor Bassam Mahfouz. Welcome to you both. Darren Johnson, what do you think of the tube stations, first of all? Is there nothing that can be done about that? Are you surprised by this?
It is ridiculous after so many years that they still haven't got a way of actually turning the lights off at these tube stations. I mean, obviously the ones above ground, the ones below ground, we obviously need that.
And are we spending too much on street lights?
In terms of streetlights, I think there are massive savings to be made, not by plunging London into total darkness. We definitely don't want that, and fear of crime is an important issue, but technology is the answer here. If we move to energy-saving LED lights, and we also have dimming programs where the lights can be dimmed in certain areas, can be brighter in others. We don't necessarily need a uniform level of brightness across the whole capital.
Now, Bassam, you have a distinction in Ealing. I think you are responsible for the greatest increase in streetlights recently, but what are you doing to mitigate the environmental effects?
Well, absolutely, Tim, and what we had back in 2005 was residents telling us a clear message: let there be light, and we've been delivering that over the last few years throughout Ealing. Now that we've finished that programme, new, improved, better street lighting across the whole borough, we're moving to a new programme of installing streetlights in locations which are crime hotspots. But on top of that, we're looking at moving forward by installing energy-efficient LED lighting right across all of the streetlights.
But why are you putting new lighting in just because residents asked for that? Residents also ask, they want libraries and great children's services and education, don't they? I mean,
absolutely, we're working on all of those areas, but actually what we had in 2005 was we were one of the worst boroughs for lighting, and I can proudly say that we've transformed that with the programme that we had, and we are now one of the best.
Do you believe there's any evidence that, or any link between actual reduction of crime and lighting?
Well, with this new programme that we're doing, we're actually working with the police, with local representatives, to identify locations where new street lighting will make a real difference to actually tackle the crime that we have in those locations. So, for instance, the 3 that we've picked out so far, we know have high crime levels, but real differences, for instance, where we've got CCTV, will actually now you'll be able to see what's on the CCTV camera because you have.
And Darren Johnson, a quick last word from what you see, are local authorities doing enough?
I think there's far more potential to save money and to save energy. Obviously, we don't want to plunge London into darkness, and fear of crime is important. But we've also got to remember people are being urged, householders being urged by the government, by the mayor, to save energy in their own homes, quite rightly. But the public sector also needs to get its own house in order and stop wasting
very
money.
Briefly, can one ever spend too much on lighting? Is that
well, I think that Darren's actually set out a very practical and sensible way forward. You know, energy saving, but commensurate with the importance of people feeling safe when they walk about the streets, and well-lit streets are the key to that.
Croydon always seems very light to us. Is it light enough?
Yeah, no, Croydon Council is actually doing what Darren suggested. It's putting in a new intelligent lighting system, replacing all the lights, and actually so improved at the times of the day you want, but with the ability to turn down in particular areas later on in the evening, so you can have a flexible system, essentially.
Okay. But if I could say,
both very briefly,
if I could say, Tim, actually, what we have in certain boroughs, such as in Westminster, as on the programme, is that you've got a win-lose situation. Yes, the borough council wins by saving some money, but residents lose because they've got dimmer streets.
Lighting. I never knew lighting was so popular. I'm sorry, guys.
What we also need to do is make sure that Stratford Tube Station is sorted out in time for the Olympics.
Do you know,
imagine the embarrassment around the world of turning up for the Olympics
you pick away at this and you find that everyone's got a view on lighting. How illuminating, but we've got to move on.